Every man at some point finds himself searching for meaning, searching for identity, searching for truth. But in a world filled with distractions, temptations, and false definitions of success, how do we know where to look? Today we're talking about the first stage in a man's spiritual journey. If you're feeling uncertain about your purpose, this episode is for you. We're exploring what it means to be a man in search of meaning, purpose, and identity. This stage can be both exciting and overwhelming, and today we'll discuss how to navigate it with faith and wisdom. Our anchor scripture for today's episode is Matthew 7:7, which tells us, "Ask, and it will be given to you. Seek, and you will find. Knock, and it will be open to you." But what happens when we seek in the wrong places? Many men define themselves by what the world tells them, but God calls us to a deeper, more lasting identity. The first step in every man's journey is the search for meaning, identity, and purpose. In a world that misguides, how can we discern truth from distraction? This episode explores the seeker stage, where a man begins his pursuit of wisdom, direction, and spiritual fulfillment while facing internal and external challenges that attempt to define his identity. This stage often starts with big questions. Who am I? Why am I here? What am I supposed to do with my life? These questions are natural, but too often men look for answers in the wrong places. Culture, achievements, relationships, even social status. That's right, and when those things fail to satisfy, they start to feel lost. Many men become restless, trying to chase success, wealth, or the approval of others. But Proverbs 14:12 warns us, "There is a way that appears to be right, but in the end, it leads to death." The Bible is full of seekers, men who searched for meaning and found it only when they turned to God. Take Solomon, for example. He had everything: wealth, wisdom, power. But in Ecclesiastes chapter 1, verse 2, he says, meaningless, everything is meaningless. He realized that nothing apart from God could satisfy the longing in his soul. That's why Jesus tells us in Matthew chapter 6, verses 19 to 21, "Do not store up for yourselves treasures on earth, where moths and vermin destroy, and where thieves break in and steal. But store up for yourselves treasures in heaven, for where your treasure is, there your heart will be also." Or look at the prodigal son. He thought he'd find his identity in freedom and pleasure, but it wasn't until he lost everything that he realized what truly mattered. Sometimes, God allows us to feel lost, so we'll finally turn back to Him. Physically, stress from an uncertain identity takes a toll on a man's health. Studies show that chronic stress, especially when tied to purpose anxiety, can lead to headaches, high blood pressure, and fatigue. The body reacts to instability. That's why spiritual grounding is so important, not just for faith, but for our overall well-being. And the worst part? Many men ignore these signs. Instead of addressing their emotional and spiritual turmoil, they push forward, thinking they just need to work harder or distract themselves. But that only deepens the problem. That's why Jesus' invitation in Matthew 11:28-30 is so important. "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." Seeking God isn't just a spiritual pursuit. It's a way to bring peace to the whole person, including our bodies. From a psychological perspective, men in the seeker stage often struggle with comparison. They measure their worth against others and feel inadequate. But comparison is a thief of joy. The key to overcoming this? Focus on your own journey. Psalm 37 verse 23 says, "The steps of a man are established by the Lord when he delights in his way." Your path is uniquely designed by God. Here are some practical steps for the seeker stage. First, seek wisdom in the right places. Start with the Bible, prayer, and godly mentors. Second, be honest about your struggles. Identify areas where you feel lost and bring them before God. Third, surround yourself with truth. Avoid cultural definitions of success and seek what God says about you. Finally, take action. Don't just seek, apply what you learn. James 1 verse 22 says, "Do not merely listen to the word and so deceive yourselves. Do what it says." No matter where you are in your journey, God sees you. He is not hiding from you. He is guiding you. Keep seeking, keep knocking, and trust that He will open the right doors. As we conclude this episode of Iron Strengthens Iron, we want to remind you that the insights shared here are meant for educational and motivational purposes. They are not a substitute for professional medical, psychological, or pastoral advice. Thank you for joining us on this journey of faith, strength, and brotherhood. We hope today's message inspires you to embrace your vulnerabilities, rise with resilience, and strengthen the bonds that uplift and sharpen you. Until next time, keep strengthening, stay resilient, and remember, as iron strengthens iron, one man strengthens another. Identify an area where you're seeking clarity. Pray about it today. If this episode spoke to you, join the Brotherhood and walk this journey with like-minded men at ironstrengthens.in/join.